Okay, if you just got done watching video 1 through 4, or a video that showed you how to do questions 1 through 4, and by the way, we know that since the y-intercept is 5, that is going to be the launch height of the ball. Then we're going to now go ahead and do the rest of the questions. You also did the maximum height of the ball already, but I'm going to show you, so please just listen as I explain how to get that using the calculator. But the purpose of this video is so we can answer questions 5 through 9 using the calculator to figure everything out, even though I know we've already got those two right there. So step number 1 is grab your calculator. Okay, so once you get your calculator, you may want to pause this if you need to go get one, but go ahead and get one, please. Okay, so now you got your calculator, right? So you can clear out everything that was already in there. Now, the first step is this. We're going to use the equation that we got in the previous video when we run a regression right here. We're going to use that equation to figure out all the information over here. If you remember, we used Desmos in the past. We saw the equation, or we saw a graph of it, by the way, that allowed us to figure out, okay, ball goes up and it comes down. A few key things. Number one, today we're going to know what the maximum height is, right? The height is over here and how much time and seconds it took to get there. We're also going to figure out when it hits the ground over here. We're also going to figure out on its descent when it's coming back down this way, when did it hit 653 feet, right? When did it hit that? And we're going to try to figure out what the height was after 15 seconds. So after 15 seconds, what is the height? Now, if we've got the equation, actually the very last one, number 9, is pretty easy. We can just basically plug in 9 into x and into the equation, and we can use our calculator and we should be able to get the answer. You should know how to do that, but I'm also going to show you how to do it on the calculator. So again, step number 1, we got our equation, and we're going to go over to the calculator now. Okay, first thing is this. This top key is basically a way to enter in an equation or a function that you already have. So click on y equals. Okay, so y1, that's where we're going to enter in the equation we got, the quadratic equation we got from running the regression. So what was it? So it was negative 3x. Now, what do I put in place of the x? Well, the x is going to be right here, this key right there. You click on that and you see the first letter is x. Okay, and then you go to the power of 2 because it's squared. Okay, now we need to get out of the exponent field, so we click this arrow right here, and then it was plus 126x from our equation. Got to get another x right there, and then plus 5, and then we hit enter. Okay, now that's the equation. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to graph this equation and kind of look at it the way we looked at it in Desmos. So click graph. Okay, you should see the full equation, but if not, you can go to zoom and you can hit zoom fit. I don't see it, so that means we got to go down this way a little bit more and go to where it says zoom fit, where it's 0, and it'll fit on the, should fit on the screen nice. What does it mean? It means we can see where it hits the x-axis, this dashed line right here. We can see the top of it barely. And we can see, like I said, these 2 points right here. We want to see the whole, this whole part right here. We want to see where it approaches the x-axis and the y-axis right here. We want to see the top, and we want to see where it comes back down. Okay, so what do we do next? Well, now we're going to use something called the calc function. We're going to calculate. We're going to hit second calc, and when you do, you see various options. One is to get a value for something. Another is to get a 0 for something, a minimum, a maximum, an intersection. So it depends on what we're trying to solve for. So let's go back to our question set. I know we already got the answer for number 6 and number 7 using what we know already about using the A and the B, but we're going to use a calculator to get the maximum height. Okay, so let's go to back to the calculator. So do you see how number 4 says maximum? So what we're going to do is we're going to hit 4, and we're going to go through a process in a moment here. Okay, the first thing you'll see is a little blinking cursor here, and you'll see something that says left bound. What it wants us to do is find a maximum point in between 2 points. The first point being that one, and then we need to get another point on the other side. We know them visually, the maximum is about right there, right? But we want the maximum between this point and that point. So it is left bound. So what we're going to do, when it says left bound question mark, we hit enter. Okay, and I put the vertical line there because that shows between that line and some other line. Now the next thing we want to make sure that our maximum point is in between this line and another line that we make. So now we're going to go on how this says right bound. We're going to take our arrow keys and hold it until it goes, oops, there we go. We're going to move it and hold it down until it gets on the other side where we clearly know it's on the other side of the maximum point that we care about. And then we're going to hit enter again, and that's going to put another line. So what we're going to do next is it's going to ask, the calculator is asking us to guess what the maximum point is vertically between those two lines. So we're going to hit enter one more time, and boom, what it does is it tells us the maximum is 20.999999. Now, if there's that many 999s, you just round it to 21. So the maximum for X is 20. I don't know if you remember doing this yesterday or you already have the answer, but that told us that the maximum is when X is 21, Y is 1328. Okay, so that gives us the maximum point on this parabola. Okay, again, if you were here yesterday and you did it yesterday, you already know that it's 21 seconds. Remember, when is the time? That's the time. And what was the maximum height is the height. So what was it? 1328. Okay. And I'm getting those values right here, the maximum X and Y values right there. The time in seconds it took to get there and the actual height. Good, so nothing to it, right? So that gave us those values. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to try to find out, maybe I'll try number 8 first. When on the ball's descent did it reach the following number of feet? So we want the feet. Remember, feet is the Y value, the vertical value, right? We want to know when it reached 653 feet on its descent. It means going down. So it means it goes up, comes down, and then it hits this 653 feet somewhere around here. What is that time, right? So now we want this function here to equal 653. So now we're going to go back to the calculator, and we're going to enter in a different function. We're going to make y equal, and we're going to use our down area to enter the next thing. And we're going to enter 653 right there. And that basically is, we're telling the calculator, we're asking the calculator, when is this equation right here, for what value of X, or what time in seconds, will the height be 653 feet? Well, we're going to hit enter. We're going to go back to graph, I'm sorry. We hit graph, okay? Now you can see the red line. And just like when we had Desmos, we see it goes through at 2 points. But remember, it's asking about on the way down. So on the way down, it hits right there. So we care about that point. So what are we going to do to figure it out? Well, we're going to go back to second, calc, and pull up that menu here. Now, what we care about is finding the point of intersection. We want to know when that red line has an intersection with the quadratic function we came up with. That's 5. So I'm going to press 5. And now we need to get this point over here. Remember, it's on the descent on the way down. So it's asking us where the first curve is. So we need to go use this arrow key to get that little blinking cursor to get close to the point of intersection. So that's the first curve. Then we hit enter. And the second curve is kind of at the same place. So it's already there. So we care what that is. Now, what do we do next? We hit enter again. And now when it finally says guess, we're going to click on enter. And the point of intersection is right there. So you want to make sure that you see guess question mark. And then you finally see this thing that says intersection. It's at 36 seconds. It's at 653 feet. Okay. Now, if you wanted, you could confirm it by plugging it in over here, and it should equal 653. But that is it. Okay. One last thing. what was the height after the following number of seconds? One, you could take the 15 and you could put it back into the X here, but there's a quick way you can use the calculator to put in that I'll show you that it does it real quickly for you. Okay, so to figure out what the value of Y is for value of X, or what the height is for a time in seconds of 15, you go to second, calc, and here you're going to pick value, okay? So you're going to pick 1, and see how a little cursor comes up? It's basically telling you plug in a value for X, or time in this case, and we wanted 15, right? So then you hit enter, and boom, it tells you. Isn't that a nice quick calculation? It tells you that when X is 15 seconds for this equation, the value is 1220, which is a nice quick way of doing it. Okay, good. So that's 1220. Okay. One last thing. I haven't missed it, but it's asking when the ball hit the ground. Remember, when the ball hits the ground, it starts over here, it goes up, and it comes back down, and the x-axis represents the ground level. Well, how many seconds did it take to hit the ground? Well, we know the value of y, which is the height, is 0. That's the ground would be 0, right? But what's the x value? How long does it take this way in seconds so that it goes all the way up and comes back down and hits the ground? So what we're going to do is we're going to come back up here and remember what we did before. So what we want to do is we want to go back to the menu, second, calc, and that's what's considered the zeros. The zeros are when the height is at 0. What's the x value? So you click on 2, and now you got to remember there's 2 zeros. Remember, this dashed line here is the x-intercept. So we care about where this ball goes up and comes back down over here. We care about this value about right there. That would be the 0 we care about, even though there's 1 over there. So we got to move our blinking cursor using the arrow keys until it gets pretty close to it. Now that it's pretty close, oh, we got to do the left bound, right bound thing. So again, we want it to be a little bit to the left of that. So it's a little bit to the left of that point. And then we hit enter. Now it's asking for the right bound. Again, it wants us to get the 0 in between that, a little bit to the right of it. And we hit enter. And now it's going to tell us where the 0 is right in between those two. So we're going to hit guess. Remember, it says guess. You just hit enter. And boom, it tells you that the 0 is at 42.03. And that would be the answer for that one. So that's how you guys can use a calculator to get the value of all these different questions here from 5 all the way through 9.